Our first session today is going to be about fortifying your sustainability toolkit. So you're going to hear from a number of different individuals here today, starting with myself, Michael Lyons, and also Luke Lombardi. And we're going to talk about SEI Sustainability Committee and the SE 2050 program. And then we'll go over to Rochelle and Tom, who are going to talk about the Carbon Leadership Forum. And then Kelly is going to talk to you about NCSEA. And Rosella is going to talk about IStructE. And finally, we're going to end with Peng Fei, who's going to talk about the Canadian Structural Engineering Association. So starting off with SEI Sustainability Committee. Our committee first formed back in 2005, so we're actually celebrating our 20th anniversary this year. And currently, we have about 50 members who are committed to advancing the understanding of sustainability in the structural community and incorporating concepts of sustainability into structural engineering standards and practice. If you want to learn a little bit more about our committee members, you can check out this website, seisustainability.org/who we are. And there you'll see both photos of a lot of our current members and also bios. The current committee chairs are myself, Michael, and also Sean Agostino. Some publications that the committee has put out in the past. All of these are available on ASCE's online library. The first one is Sustainability Guidelines for the Structural Engineer. This was published back in 2010, and it's a really wide-ranging, exhaustive publication talking about a variety of different things the engineer should be thinking about when it comes to sustainability. And it also even has some topics related to infrastructure as well. The next publication is Structural Materials and Global Climate. This was published in 2017. And this goes material by material through common construction structural materials and highlights both how those materials are made and also what their contribution is to the global climate issue. The final resource that I have here is the Whole Building Life Cycle Assessment Guide, which was published in 2018. This includes a variety of different strategies that you may want to consider when you're conducting an LCA, and also goes into detail about defining a reference building structure. As a committee, we have had a long-term commitment to education. If you look on our website on seisustainability.org/committee publications, you can see a variety of different magazine articles, conference presentations, webinars, and case studies that we've put out in the past. Two more recent articles that we published in Structure Magazine include one about circular construction, highlighting a case study based out of Boulder, Colorado. And we also just released part 2 of a 3-part series that we've been working on related to structural thermal bridging. As a committee, we've also started to step more into the realm of codes, specifically putting out a pre-standard for assessing the embodied carbon of structural systems for buildings. And so this pre-standard we've been working on for a few years now, and it's actually going to be made available again through the ASE library in Q2 of this year. And we anticipate that that will actually be free of charge for you to download. Looking forward, looking into the future as a committee, we're starting to think about what are the new and emerging topics that people need guidance on in the realm of sustainability. We've already started brainstorming the idea of publishing some circular economy guidance, also some thermal bridging best practices, and finally, a life cycle assessment guidance that would directly support that pre-standard that's coming out this year with detailed information. The last thing I want to talk about here is this event that occurred last summer. The SEI's workshop towards zero carbon that was held at Northeastern University. I've personally come to see this as a consensus-driven guiding light for our committee. And it really, over the course of 2 days, a large group of industry professionals in the realm of sustainability got together and really came up with a brainstorm of what problems we need to solve through SEI and in general. And so that's what I look at from a committee standpoint, uh, look to as we create our goals moving to the future. And I do believe in the closing remarks, you'll get a little bit more info on this event. Now we'll go over to Luke. Thanks.
The next resource is not so much a living resource, but a monthly newsletter, which is a great place to stay up to date with the latest news on embodied carbon, as well as program updates. And my favorite part is there's a signatory spotlight. So monthly, we highlight one firm who's been doing great work, and they get to share a little bit about exhibit the work that they've been doing. Huge shout out to Chris Jesuits, who leads our communications group, for curating this monthly email. Please sign up. Next, our annual report, which is a culmination of all the work that signatories have put into their embodied carbon action plans in the last year. So we read all of the ECAPs. So those 130 firms, we read everything and compile trends from the previous year and reflect on the progress of the program. Really great report. And today, we're launching it. We just published it. So you'll be some of the first folks to read it. And this year we tried something a bit new, which was a signatory recognition program. So check that out. And I'm totally out of time, but I want to sneak in one last thing here, which is about our database. Last year we published the first findings from the report. Could spend a whole hour on this, but we'll share a Structure Mag article and executive summary. One of the main things that I want to get out to folks is there's this threshold of 350 kilograms per meter squared. That's the 80th percentile from the whole data set of upfront carbon structure only. If you're above that, it's a bit of a red flag. Tons more to say, and I'm sure there's, folks have questions about that, but no time for it. We got to go right into CLF. So I'm going to hand it over to Rochelle and Tom.
Yeah, hey, thank you. I'm Rochelle. I'm with the Carbon Leadership Forum. HQ is what we have rebranded it recently to. I'm a low carbon product lead with CLF and was a practicing structural engineer for about 7.5 years. And I'll be presenting with Tom Place with Equilibrium Consulting, and who's also a really big part of one of the CLF hubs in British Columbia. Okay, so a little bit about an outline of just what I'll be presenting on, and just an introduction into who CLF is and what we do, the theory of change that really propels all of our data and all of our research and everything that we do, and then the top resources for structural engineers, which I think everybody will be happy to learn about. Our mission is to eliminate embodied carbon in buildings, materials, and infrastructure to create a just and thriving future. CLF had been hosted at the University of Washington for the last 10 years, and last year we split from being hosted at UW and became an independent nonprofit organization, but we still have the same goal of pursuing the elimination of embodied carbon. And we have a lot of hubs. We started off as just one hub, now has kind of ballooned into almost 30 hubs across 3 different continents. The hubs can be described as local volunteer communities, all aiming to raise capacity and reducing embodied carbon. And that can be from meeting together, conversing, educating each other about strategies, presenting, having people come and present. They are really powerful. Like I was a part of the CLF Los Angeles hub, and it's a really great community, and it's very welcoming, and it's welcoming for anybody in the industry. It's unique in that it's not just for structural engineers, it's not just for architects. It's everybody in the industry can be a part of it, and we can learn from each other. And the theory of change has these 3 tenets. It is improve data and methods, inform effective and just policy, and build communities for impact. And we build the community for impact through the CLF hubs, the online community platform that we have, and other forums. And that community is the backbone of the research that we do, the data that we use, and that is also used to inform effective and just policy. So can you go next? All right, and so the first resource that I want to talk about is near and dear to my heart. We have this North American Material Baselines report that we publish every 2 years. I'm currently working on the one that will be published in the spring of 2025. It's particularly near and dear to me, but also just as a practicing structural engineer, I used it all the time. I thought it was super powerful and just a phenomenal resource because it consolidates all the different types of structural and architectural materials that are used in buildings. It consolidates them into one report with the embodied carbon intensities and provides background data, and also provides like more insight into different types of materials. It's a super powerful tool. And then we have the policy map and toolkit. For the policy toolkit, it's about 7 different reports focusing on different types of policies. Next one, sorry. And for the policy map, it's this really great interactive policy map that is housed on our website. And it describes all the different types of embodied carbon policies and where they're at in terms of their implementation all across the world. Next slide. And this is a little bit similar to what Luke was presenting with SEI's specification guidance. And I will say, like, as a practicing structural engineer, it can be a little bit intimidating to update these like specs that we kind of almost copy and paste from each project to project. And with the help of the CLF specification guidance, as well as SEI specification guidance, I think they're really powerful tools to provide starting points for performance-based low carbon option specifications. All right, next. And the last one, I think, is one of the coolest reports, I would say, that CLF, or in my opinion, CLF has published, which is the California Total Carbon Report. It investigates 30 real new construction buildings that exist in California with have performed whole building life cycle assessments on them. And it includes operational carbon. And spoiler alert, it found that embodied carbon absolutely dominates, which really highlights the requirement and the need to really focus and reduce embodied carbon. Because we're starting to look bad. And it shows a lot of variability. And it was a precursor, basically, like, stay tuned, because we're coming with our North American whole building benchmarks. This report was only 30 buildings, and the North American whole building benchmarks is going to have 300 buildings to help establish whole building benchmarks for structural engineers. That's it. And I'll hand it off to Tom.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, so I'm Tom Place. I'm a structural engineer with Equilibrium up in Vancouver, and I'm also involved with the advisory committee at the CLF BC hub. Next slide, please. So for those of you that don't know, the city of Vancouver is kind of leading the way amongst jurisdictions in North America, along with Calgary, for introducing embodied carbon legislation into code. So as things stand right now, for rezoning applications and a building permit in the city of Vancouver, projects must demonstrate that they are below an embodied carbon threshold. So what that looks like for us is either justifying a 10% reduction below a baseline of 400 kilos per square meter, or using a benchmark equivalent buildings to demonstrate that you've reduced by 10% relative to an equivalent design. So the city's also providing leadership credits, seeking to gather additional data on extra elements, so landscaping, MEP design, transportation to site, to try and encourage the industry to broaden the data it's collecting on embodied carbon. And the CLF team up at the advisory committee of the CLF at BC have been pretty fundamental in helping guide the city of Vancouver to achieve regulations that are going to be realizable for real projects and are kind of palatable for the industry. Here's just a quick snapshot of some of the data that's been collected over the past 6-7 years at the city of Vancouver. So what we're seeing is the low-rise buildings are generally able to hit the levels that are required under the 360 limit. For taller buildings, particularly high-rise concrete, there's slightly more of a challenge there, but they're using some of the alternate routes in order to hit those codified targets, but still with a view to reducing by 40% by 2030. Next slide, please. A few quick lessons learned. That there's a lot in the information that's come and been referenced before this presentation. The obvious ones are parkades and basement structures. The city of Vancouver is now reducing its parking minimums in order to help designers to achieve the embodied carbon limits that are being set and to try and bring down embodied carbon in buildings. Other big wins are the provision of what we call GUL concrete cement in Canada, which is type 1L in the US, which is the limestone cement, which is provided as standard by the two cement suppliers that supply British Columbia. And then also in collaboration with some of our sustainability and architecture colleagues in the CLFBC, really driving down the insulation, which is a very easy substitution, but for a whole building LCA can impact it quite significantly. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this is indicative of lots of CLF hubs around North America, so please get involved with your local hub if you can. Some great resources that have come out of the BC hub is a low carbon materials sourcing guide. So not just structural materials, but other materials involved in the facade, envelope, and interiors. Some signposting there for where local designers can go to specify realizable and achievable reductions. A whole fleet of case studies that have come out of the projects that the teams have been involved with in British Columbia. We have an annual awards ceremony to recognize people that are going above and beyond with embodied carbon reduction. We're collaborating with CAGBC up in Canada, and we have a monthly carbon exchange and peer network to share resources and knowledge. Next.
Excellent. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Rochelle. Big fan of everything that CLF does. Thank you. And we're going to keep rolling right on to Kelly with NCSEA.
Hey there. Thanks so much for having me. I'm Kelly Roberts, and I chair the NCSEA Sustainable Design Committee. Go to the first slide. NCSEA is the National Council of Structural Engineering Associations and represents 44 state structural engineering associations, or SEAs, throughout the United States. The National Sustainable Design Committee promotes sustainable design practices within the profession of structural engineering through leadership, advocacy, outreach, and education. You can go to the next slide. It also serves to support the formation of local sustainable design committees within each SEA at the local level, because we really believe that sustainability really happens on a local level, and it's really specific to the places that all of you live. So the idea is to support the formation of local committees. The national community then serves as both a community and a resource and conduit to share information between the national and local sustainable design groups. So it's really there to support the local sustainable design groups. The goal is to provide education, resources to all engineers within a community that they're already a part of, their local SEAs. To that end, we have over 30 representatives. You can go to the next slide, representing over 20 SEAs. And you can go advance to the next one too. So this is all the places that we have representatives, and this is the all the places that we have sustainable design committees. And what's great is that we formed over 15 local sustainable design committees, and this community is, the vast majority of them are members from small to mid-sized engineering firms across the United States. And some are relatively new to the sustainability conversation and movements like SE 2050. So our goal of bringing more engineers into the conversation is really working through this type of engagement. You can go to the next one. Our committee meets once a month, and we have several active working groups, including communication, policy, specifications, and resources. I'm sure this mirrors a lot of other groups. So I'd like to highlight a couple important resources that have been created by these working groups. You can go to the next one. First, if you haven't already signed up to receive NCSEA's Structural Connection newsletter, I highly recommend it for general structural engineering news and resources. It's a weekly newsletter, and once a month, there's a sustainability spotlight where we publish news or links to resources related to sustainability. And in general, in addition to just general news, this is where we also publish information about any upcoming webinars or presentations, since that is a big focus of the committee, is just providing general education. Last year at the NCSEA Summit, we had 4 presentations from our committee and hosted a 3-part material webinar series the year before that. It's really important that we continue the education overall. You can also learn about NCSEA's We See Above and Beyond campaign that illustrates how structural engineers can create safe, vibrant, and resilient communities, which is a really important message that NCSEA is trying to get out there right now. So if you're looking just to stay informed, you can find that within Structural Connection. You can go to the next one. So this past year, our specifications committee was really hard at work creating a comprehensive concrete performance specification guide. Hopefully a lot of you have seen this. The guide serves as a consolidated resource for the practicing structural engineer to performance specify concrete for specifically building projects. It provides a summary of the different properties that engineers need to consider when specifying concrete and addresses how these properties and the choices that they make for a project are related to performance-based criteria and also embodied carbon. Next slide. The document has 2 primary components. You're looking at an example concrete class table, and then there's also an informational list of relevant concrete properties. The concrete class table is given to really show the minimum criteria required to performance specify concrete, and it gives a format that we recommend be adopted across the industry. The idea here is that if we're all adopting similar formats, then ready-mix producers are used to seeing that format and they know how to respond. This is a table that should be modified for every project, and by no means a cut and paste, but you should consider it as a template for your organization. And you can go to the next slide. The remainder of the document then presents relevant concrete properties and provides references and commentary related to typical properties that engineers may consider specifying on their projects. The commentary section summarizes the reference material and provides a bunch of context on the what, when, why, how for each property. So I hope that you guys will find this really informative. This guide can be downloaded from the NCSEA website. If you go to the Sustainable Design Committee page, you can find this resource there, and I hope you find it useful. And then finally, our policy group was hard at work last year. The policy group is actually a combined working group that's shared between SEI and NCSEA so that we do not duplicate resources. That was a really big, important goal behind starting the NCSEA Sustainable Design Committee, was to ensure that we were working symbiotically with the SEI Sustainable Design Committee. And one of the things that has come out of that is this SE Policy Collaborative. This group has been really hard at work on a joint statement on sustainable design practices that will hopefully be a shared statement between SEI and NCSEA on sustainable design practices for the industry. They've also presented in various forums and will be presenting this year in NCSEA webinars that you can hear about from Structural Connection. And then they also worked on the policy landscape portion of the SE 2050 website, incorporating a view of the CLF map that was presented earlier into the SE 2050 website. So lastly, if you're a structural engineer in an active SEA that is currently not connected to our group, I'd love to hear from you. Ultimately, we'd love to have a liaison to every single one of the 44 SEAs around the country to make sure that we're connecting with every engineer in every state. Thanks.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Kelly. Appreciate everything you're doing. All right. We're going to pass it overseas to Rosella.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for inviting me. It's a pleasure to speak to all of you today. So my name is Rosella. I'm based in London, and I'm here representing the Institution of Structural Engineering. And I'm part of the Climate Emergency Task Group within the institution. I'm also a practicing structural engineer, chartered in the UK, but also licensed in the US. And my current position is leading a sustainability department in UK contractor Langor Org. Next slide, please. So for those who don't know the IStructE, the Institution of Structural Engineers, so it's a main professional body for structural engineers in the UK, but it also has quite a strong international outlook. The body has a mission to secure a safe and sustainable society by advancing structural engineers. And today, IStructE has about 30,000 members, with 20,000 in the UK, and the remaining spread across 112 countries. So really a growing player in the global engineering community with a lot of different contacts and network and collaboration opportunity in structural engineers, but also like in the wider construction industry and other disciplines. So in terms of sustainability, the IStructE made a conscious decision about 5 years ago to really like up the game for the profession. First in embodied carbon, but then the wider sustainability aspect for structural engineers. So what you see on the screen is pretty much like the effort that the institution has put in all its activities for its members, for the community, and for the profession. As most professional bodies, IStructE is organized across multiple members group. We have committees, we have panels, we have a governing board. But sustainability spread across a lot of the activities of those groups. And that is mostly coordinated by a special task force, which is the CETG, the Climate Emergency Task Group. That has a number of practicing structural engineers, as well as a permanent member of staff for the institution, Will Arnold, Head of Climate Action. In terms of the specific activities over the last 5 years, as you can see, this pyramid is about setting standards, raising standards and guidance, support the wider profession, and an emphasis on collaborate and influence the wider industry. In terms of setting the standards, that is pretty much setting the basis for what it means to be a structural engineer professional, starting from education to continuous professional development, to what it means to become a chartered, which is in the case a licensed structural engineer, and that means really revisiting all the procedure and basic requirements for access to the profession. So in the last few years, the standards for continuous professional development and for the exams have been revisited to include specifically embodied carbon calculation, and as well the education system has been amended, or the guidelines for basics in structural engineering education has been revised thanks to the great links and collaboration with academia. In terms of raised standards and published guidance, the institution has been particularly active and drawing from the force, the commitment and the expertise of a lot of its members. So over the last 5 years, really more than 100 different articles, papers have been published, most of them in the flagship Structural Engineering magazine, but also on the website, and most of them are free even for non-members. Then a series of flagship publication, which we'll talk about it later, has also been produced during this period, and really like that has been an important source of advancing the profession through a lot of different activities. In terms of wider linking and joining across all the practicing structural engineers, similar to what you heard from my other fellow panelists earlier, linking up all practitioners is important. So as part of this, there is a community called Structural Engineers Declare on SED, that again, like is a consortium of different companies that sign up to advance the sustainability agenda, collaborate and share resources and opportunities. And for this, there is an annual summit with a lot of interesting speakers and opportunities. And again, you can find all the information on the IStructE website and the links. And that is open also to people not members of the institution. And last but not least, on the collaborate and influence, we recognize that the main challenge of sustainability and embodied carbon and net zero cannot be tackled in isolation. So as such, the IStructE is involved in a series of other groups, not just in engineering, but across the profession. So RIBA is the body for architects, SIPS for mechanical engineering. And then one of the key achievements this year has been the publication of the first pilot UK net zero carbon building standard. Again, this can be easily downloaded online, and it's free, and it's the first pass really to a more encompassing legislation for embodied carbon. In terms of key resources, so I want to signpost two that are free for non-members. So one is a flagship guide on how to calculate embodied carbon. Then again, list out the procedure, tool, and typical carbon rate on a range of materials. It also includes guidance on modules on calculating construction and transportation. And again, it's been a very important practicing tool for members and non-members. And a companion to this is the structural carbon tool, now at this version number 3, which is an Excel-based tool that allow engineers to put a bill of quantities, assign materials, and then drop-down menu for embodied carbon rates, and you can put in there different schemes, and it gives you at the end a comparison table. Again, these resources are free to members and non-members, and can be downloaded from the IStructE website. Next one, please. Then in terms of key members resources, as I said earlier, the last 5 years have been quite an exceptional effort of producing materials. So guidance paper, articles, an embodied carbon basic course, again, available for free to members, and a number of different development and training opportunity, as well as other flagship publication, not necessarily just on carbon, but on a wider range. So, for example, circular economy, but also regenerative structural engineer. There is a number of different hybrid events and seminars, both in the UK and internationally. What you see on the screen is one big effort in putting all the resources that have been published on the IStructE in a clickable PDF. Again, like you have the reference there, but also the resources external to IStructE that could be useful for members and non-members. And again, like you can see from how many different text there is, that is quite encompassing, and there is a clickable PDF. This proved to be quite effective for our members. A couple of years ago, around this time, we ran a first survey, and 70% of respondents to that survey said that they're actually using this tool on a daily basis in their work. So that's a testament to the success of all the combined effort that these resources have provided to the members. And they really range from design aspects, is how to calculate elements or low carbon material, how to engage with suppliers, how to engage with clients. And just to conclude, again, similarly to other people, if you want to know more, I'm putting here some contacts, particularly like in terms of Will Arnold, the head of climate action at the institution, that has been leading a lot of different activities. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosa. Yeah, quite a wealth of resources there. Thank you so much, and a testament to the work that's been done over the last several years. Okay, last but not least, we're going to keep it international with Pengfei, CSEA.
Hello, everyone. My name is Peng Fei. I'm a PhD candidate at the University of Toronto. Today, it's my pleasure to represent my association, SEI, to talk about a little bit about our association and the effort we did on sustainability. So next slide, please. Thank you. So about our association, the name of our association is Canada Structural Engineers Association, CSEA. CSEA was founded in December 2019 in Toronto, Canada, with the approval of Professional Engineers Ontario and Engineers Canada. And the intention of CSE is just to provide a platform that the structural engineers can share their knowledge, can provide some career guidance, and we also organize professional events regarding structural engineers. So we are a growing association in Canada, and currently we have approximately 400 members across Canada, including engineers, architects, professors, and students. We also have a Quebec chapter in Montreal. Right, so next slide, please. So regarding sustainability, our association managed to have our first annual conference last year. So we just had our first annual conference last year about the topic about the conference is sustainability and accelerated construction. So for this small conference, we have two keynote presentations. The first one is energy expansion and energy transition, which talks about Ontario's current and future energy supply and demand, as well as the strategy to achieve sustainable, environmental friendly energy solutions. And the second keynote presentation is about the proposed CHBDC updates in 2025 code. CHBDC is the Canadian Highway Bridge Design Code, and this presentation kind of gives you a in-depth overview of the coming changes in the standard. Next, please. All right, so we also have another 5 presentations for this small annual conference. So we had, as you can see from the pictures, this is our conference, and the second picture kind of below is the picture of all the presenters. So for our 5 presentations, we have first one, a rapid replacement or rehabilitation of railway bridges. And we also have presentations on UHPC. And myself, was talking about the revealing the potential of Ontario clays for low carbon cement production in Ontario, which is my research topic. And another 2 presentations on robotic hydro demolition and sustainable structural preservation by our president, Hai-Xue Liao from Vector Corrosion. Next one, please. So for our resources, we have monthly seminars on selected topics, which are offered in person and online. If you happen in the area, we welcome you to join our seminar. And we also we will also have this 2024 annual conference. Hopefully, will be bigger than the 2024 one. And also, please visit our website for more information and for more seminars, and also connect us with on LinkedIn. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Peng Fei. That is a wrap on the session. Hopefully, people got a lot out of it. It didn't feel too much like drinking from a fire hose. I think we do have a couple minutes for some questions. I'm going to transition to that. But first, I want to thank all of our speakers for sharing out some common threads of knowledge sharing in the industry and building connection among structural engineers. Definitely a lot of resources and action for anyone, new starters to senior structural engineers. Lots that we can do.